All right, welcome to an episode of the Deep with the Know podcast. I have Jeremy Van Winkle. That's a cool name, man.
Thank you.
Van Winkle, dude. Welcome, man.
Glad to be here.
Um, Jeremy, let's start with a minute or two of just your background.
Yeah, so got into entrepreneurship early. Uh, 19, I built a small subdivision after reading a book on how to, and got out there, started creative financing it, building it. That led me into flipping some houses, doing some remodels, uh, in the real estate game as an investor. And when I turned 21, I got into the 18-wheeler space. Being from Louisiana, oil field was booming.
Um,
So we were working in the oil field space and doing great there, growing that.
and what were you doing?
And
Were you driving the trucks? Were you buying them and renting them, or what was that business like?
I was buying and driving and had drivers.
Right.
Yep.
I had a buddy that was doing that this was 10 years ago, in North Dakota. We served a 2 year like LDS Mormon mission together. That dude came back a millionaire because he had that truck running 24/7, where he said it ran like 21 hours a day. And I'm like, you sucker. Anyways, he did well with that as well.
Yeah, I had a gig like that where we worked in a plant. Truck stayed there running 24 hours a day, just swapping in and out drivers.
Yeah.
That
Anyway,
was
and when was that you're doing that? What year was that?
so age 21 to 25.
Okay. And how old are you now? Put that
I'm
into.
34.
Okay. Okay, awesome.
So that ended with the down portion of my story. Uh, there was a big turn in my life that took place. Uh, didn't really have an identity. Was always looking for acceptance in whatever crowd I was in.
Um,
And so there was a lot of partying going on. There was not much responsibility with the money I was making. And so one thing led to another. Partying turned to cocaine. Cocaine turned to methamphetamines. And I lost the trucking company, home, vehicles, everything to a drug addiction. And during this time, I had met this girl who denied me one night. So she made me chase her. So I started chasing her. Well, we had eventually, right before all that happened, we started dating, and a child was on the way, and just all of that responsibility and unknown just pushed that addiction to another level.
mhm.
And because I didn't know who I was. And so ended up losing everything. Thank God she stayed with me. Um, Biggest blessing in my life is my wife. And she's given me 4 beautiful babies. But um, yeah, it was an adventure. So January 8th, 2018, I walked into the church that I was raised in,
Um,
and I brought meth and paraphernalia and laid it on the altar in front of everyone who knew my story, family. I just didn't care. I was at that point. I was sick of it. And also had the prompting of my wife saying, hey, if you don't change, I can't continue like this. And so I laid it on the altar and I quit cold turkey. And
wow.
my wife took care of me for the next 3 weeks as I went through the withdrawal process. But it was
What?
I believe in radical faith, stepping out and watching God come meet you where you're at. He takes the biggest step, but he just wants you to take a step. Having that radical faith to just lay it down. I had become a felon through all of that, stealing and trying to pay for drugs. It was a whole mess. I had the opportunity to completely ruin my life, and I did on some portion of that. But deep down, I still had the desire to win and have greatness in my life. I just had to figure out how to rebuild or get my own identity after that
Yeah.
fact.
Before we move on to finding that identity, if you're fine diving more into the hell period, I'd love to do so. You mentioned, um, I mean, your wife was a big component of that. And it sounded, as you phrased it, was, I can't keep going if you're going to keep doing this. Not, hey, I hate you, you're a terrible person. I think it was just yesterday I listened to some Instagram clip, and it was Ed Milet, and he said, I want you to love me as a brother, but I don't want you to accept who I am because I want you to challenge me, because that's how I grow. Anyways, and that just made me relate to your wife. It sounded like she did accept you and love you, but she's also like, hey, you got to be better for me and for the family.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. I feel like going through anything that drastic sucks, and then without the support of a loved one, I mean, man, it's got to be a lot worse. Uh, Talk to me about what did this decision come from to say, hey, I'm going to go into my church and be public with this. One, congrats on doing that. I know that helped other people, whether or not they had the same issues or other issues. Anytime you just put your goals out there, make yourself vulnerable, gives other people uh, permission to be vulnerable, and then it also helps you with accountability. But what do you feel like was the main driving factor of like, hey, I'm going to put it all out there?
Well, I believe in radical transparency. Uh, that's the reason I'm so open about my story today. But
Um,
during that time, obviously you're not in the perfect thinking because you're in a drug induced state. But um, just knowing that, look, if I just remove this from the darkness and I put it in the light, there's going to be a a transformation that can happen. The possibility of ending this addiction in my life, it was strong enough for me to just open the curtain and do what I had to do to get it out there.
do you feel that? Well, talk to me a little bit. What were those 3 weeks like? What does it take, and what is the toll on your body and mind when you're getting off of drugs?
Man, I mean, it's agonizing. I'm 250 pounds healthy now. I'm 6'5",
Huh.
and I weighed 170, 180 pounds during that time. I had gray skin, uh, sores all over my body. There's many times people see me passed out and they thought I was dead. Just that lifeless. The drug had that big of a hold on me. So there was a lot of um, internal pain. I was taking Suboxone strips to help with the pain while while doing the meth.
So
Already that's a
what were you
huge.
taking?
What's that?
So what you boxing strips? Is that what I heard?
Suboxone.
Oh,
So it
boxing. What the hell?
so it is. It's a drug to help you get off of opiates,
Okay.
but it's also sold on the street. So I was taking those, man, and just trying to help with the pain. But during that time of getting off, a lot of throwing up, just you can imagine the scene there. Not I didn't get out of bed for 3 weeks.
Mhm.
Couldn't walk. Just a lot of willpower of I made this decision. I'm going through with it, and I'm gonna fight through it. She was there for me, side by side, and that's a huge proponent of where I am today is because she didn't walk away.
I imagine that wasn't the first time you tried to quit the drugs or quit the addiction.
Um,
Like,
Actually, it was. I had told
okay.
her a bunch of times that I was quitting, but never followed through with it. I was just in my mind it was a great idea to quit, but I just didn't. I didn't
What
go to that level of stop taking it to going through the withdrawal process.
was
Uh,
the straw that broke the camel's back? Was it your wife saying, "Hey, I can't keep doing this,"
yeah,
or was there something else
man,
behind it?
I've always wanted. Uh, success in my life from an early age. And part of my viewpoint on success is a strong family,
Hmm.
a fruitful family. And so watching that, what I thought I had as the beginnings of my fruitful, strong family and my portion of success was about to walk away and I was going to lose that. That was, that would just reminded me, hey, this is not who you are. You've got more in you. And I made that decision.
That's awesome. Do you feel like a lot of people say, that the worst times in your life are also the times that you learn the most? Would you agree with that? And if so, what were the big, I guess, learning moments that you took away from a troubling time?
I apologize. Can you repeat that question? A phone call come in.
Yes. Oh, I was about to say, and it also static started appearing too.
Yeah.
Whatever happened on that.
Apologize. Let me mute that.
Oh, you're good. And if you just throw it on do not disturb, it should.
That's what I just did.
We'll edit that little part out. What was my question? Okay, I'll wait for you to come back. The screen just turned off.
All right. Now,
Okay.
edit.
Okay, I'll redo that one. A lot of people say, what the hardest challenges are also when you learn the most. So, one, do you agree with that? And then, if so, what are those lessons or key takeaways that you learned from that? Getting off the drug addiction.
Well, first off, it's a 1% chance that anybody gets off of meth and a heroin replacement and changes their life. 1%. So I already know that because I overcome that, I can overcome anything. Um, I didn't believe in NA and AA because they wanted you to keep going in there and say, hi, my name's Jeremy and I'm an addict. I didn't believe that. I overcome that. And so that I took that mentality, that aspect of thinking and push that into business and push that into my life and any problem that arises. Yeah, life can be tough. Life can throw you lots of curveballs, but uh, I had that never give up mentality after living through something so drastic and overcoming something so big and had such a grip on my life that the power of God and my willpower paired together, I can overcome anything.
So, looking back, if you could wave a magic wand, would you have just skipped that experience in your life, or do you feel like that was absolutely necessary?
That was necessary. I believe
Okay.
only two things can happen to you in life: God ordained and God allowed. And I believe that was a span of my life that was God allowed, and it's made me better throughout that.
I like that, and it's it's so good to have that perspective, which is easier to have the perspective looking back. And I'm a believer of everything that happened happened. I mean, we are who we are. Our desires are our desires. Our hormones are our hormones. Or from a religious standpoint, an omnipotent God knows everything you're going to do, knows everything you did. Like you have, life just has to run its course. Um, it's just harder when you're in those, I guess, valleys of life to say, hey, I'm going to be grateful for this later. Hey, this is making me a better person. But if you can, it definitely does make those valleys a lot more, I guess, reasonable. So
It's that macro micro perspective change, and it's hard to do in the moment to zoom in or zoom out on an issue or problem in your life. I mean, there's been lots of things happen since then that I had to remind myself to zoom out. I'm zoomed way too in on this problem. Zoom out, figure it out.
yeah, most entrepreneurs are kind of the A-type personality, go, 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 achieve, 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 more, what am I accomplishing today? What's the purpose? Um, and with that, I think comes some ADHD a lot of times, and it comes with an addictive personality. Um, and then are you addicted to work, or are you addicted to alcohol, or are you addicted to cocaine? Do you feel like you still have that same type of personality, but you just replaced it from going to cocaine or going to, like, for me, it was food. Like, I got up to 310 pounds and it was just like, I'm happy. Let's celebrate with food. I'm sad. I'm depressed. I'm gonna eat myself better, right? Do you feel like you lean on other addictions or habits to replace those old ones?
I'm in the full belief that addicts make great entrepreneurs, um, because they already have that drive built in them.
Mhm.
If an addict needs $10 to go buy some more drugs, they're going to find a way to do it.
Jeremy, if you're talking, I can't hear you. Yo, yo,
Podcast, but we've had some serious issues.
it's because you're in a car, dude.
I can't hear you
Not
on
to put the blame on anybody.
dude. My
it's
phone overheated.
it's good. The last thing I heard was an
I can't
addict
hear you.
thinks.
Hold on one second.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
yeah,
Can't hear you.
testing. One, two, three, testing. Any better now?
Just no. It sounds like you're growling.
Dang it. Maybe try leaving and jumping back in.
I'm gonna disconnect and reconnect again. Can you hear
Can
me?
you hear me? Yes.
Now I'm trying to figure out how to go back to the landscape mode. I apologize, dude.
You're good.
I'm gonna have to exit out and turn it into landscape before I join.
Okay. All right, can you hear me? Dang it.
Try it again.
Yep.
Any better?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Can you hear me? And you don't even have to. Oh, whatever. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, let's go. Um, Also, pull down. Are you on an iPhone?
Yeah.
Pull down to the top right corner. There's a voice isolation, and it'll cut out all the background noise. And then on the top right, you have to be making a phone
Did
call.
that?
Did you see that option for the voice
Yeah.
isolation?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that cut out all the background. All right.
My phone overheated was the reason sitting in the sun.
All right. Last thing I heard was addicts make great entrepreneurs, and then you're going into why. So let's start with that if you could remember your train of thought. And my question prior to that was, and to get a little bit more background, like I have a very addictive personality, but I don't want to drink more than one night in a row. So one night I'll drink, and maybe another night I'll smoke, and then another night I don't do anything, and I kind of alternate them, or I'll do the ice bath, and I'm trying to replace, a bad addiction with a good addiction. But either way, like my brain needs dopamine from something, but if I can get it from working out or the ice bath, that's a lot better than smoking. So, anyways, that's a little bit of background. But if you can go into that and start with I think entrepreneurs make or addicts make great entrepreneurs. That way, it's an easy clip.
Yeah. So I think addicts do make great entrepreneurs. Um, but in my life, I've learned to just balance that between a couple different things. One is I don't want to work too much. I've replaced that and I'm driving for success financially, but those successes in the other areas of my life also require attention. So it's hard. It's hard for me to pull away from business and spend direct time with my family or attending to my personal needs. Like I work out, so I go work out every day, every morning. I read my Bible. I'm pouring into those things to um, just keep that addiction in check. Not necessarily I've replaced good with bad, and somewhat I have, but I'm just keeping them in the right direction in a positive way. So I'm pouring into myself. I'm working out. I get the dopamine from working out. I spend that time with my families. Try to shut off at a certain time so I can have that time with them. So I'm not just letting one area of my life just run. Now don't take it for granted. When you're trying to be successful, there's a lot of times in life you have to do what it takes. Hey, babe, I'm going to lock myself in this room for 30 days to pump out this product or get this process or SOP in place or whatever I'm doing. Um, I've got to do that at times, but I also don't let that run or rule my life, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that the balance is really hard. um, and shooting for the balance, but knowing that it's not going to be balanced. And I guess like what I try to do is I guess sprints. Like I don't work past 5, but a few weeks out of the quarter when shit hits the fan, I you know. But to make up for that, a few weeks out of the quarter, I'm not even working till 5, and I'm going on a vacation. Uh, I think it is a slippery slope. I mean, how do you define that line? So, and it's impossible. But I do try to base off of just whatever the world thinks it is, which is 9 to 5, 40-hour work week. If I work more than 40 hours one week, I want to try to give that back to my family in another time. Or for me, it was just an endless cycle of it's easy to justify one more time,
Yeah.
1 more hour, 1 more hour, 1 more hour. And then it's like, what the hell is the point of being successful if I'm not going to all of my kids' events? So I feel you on that for sure.
Yeah, because it is a slippery slope. And it's just like a drug addict. I'm going to do this drug one more time, one more day, one more hit, and it's a nonstop cycle. But the awareness of it, knowing who you are, what you're building, why you're building it, the legacy, all of that, living by core values, having that mission and vision plugged in, that's all essential and can help you keep that balance through the awareness of how hard you're pushing or what you're pushing for.
When did you do all of that? Core values, mission statement, um, goals, all of that. And how did you do that? What was the process like?
I wish I would have done that the very week that I had a clear mind. When I started rebuilding the foundation of my life after that period, I wish I would have done that then. I would be so far beyond where I am today just by implementing that one thing. When I did it was late 22, early 23, year 2023. Um, and I did it because knowing your purpose and knowing your identity, there's spiritual aspects of that. There's physical aspects, your own desire. Um, God gave us the ability to choose, so we get to choose our path. He orders our steps. So knowing what my purpose is and what I'm building helped me align that. Um, it's kind of like Moses, God asking, "What's in your hand?" His staff to lead people, to be a shepherd, to lead the people out of Egypt. So that's the way I took it
Um,
was, what's in my hand? What can I do for people? Where can I go on this next journey? What kind of legacy am I trying to build? And that's what helped me hone in on knowing who I am, my passions, what I like. Um, so my core values are kingdom, integrity, never give up, and greatness. So those are all things that I'm pursuant of. The two middle I can accomplish daily, but the other two are pursuant core values that I'll never be able to obtain. My goal is to obtain them, but it just keeps that drive and keeps that passion moving forward. If I would have
what
started living by those core values, my goodness.
what triggered you to say I need core values?
Um, living, knowing that I knew where I wanted to go, but I was still aimless.
Um,
Once I put the core values in place, that gave me a more sense of direction and what I was trying to achieve.
See, I mean, I agree with all of that. For me, it was actually joining Apex, which is how we got connected. They're all core values. Core values, my ass, dude. Shut up. And then I did it. Yeah, kind of mid 2022 because I joined Apex beginning of 2022, and I forgot the guy's name. The Unf Your Business, Thomas. I don't know. It's a pretty short book,
Oh,
but it's
Thomas Keenan.
Thomas Keenan. Yeah, I read
Yeah.
that, and that was very like a big spark. These are the activities that you follow to have the mission statement, to have the core values, and then I also had a coach assigned to me through Apex. And it was like, hey, now I have my personal core values and mission statement. What about for the business? He goes, one and the same. You make your business
Right.
adopt it because it's your business. And I was like, oh, okay, so I get to use my business to achieve my personal goals. Duh. And anyways, lots of clarity. Side question: with it sounds like religion is a very big part of your life. Um, how do you, I guess, go back and forth with it's your choice to choose, but there's also God's plan. To me, God's plan has made. I've taken it almost as a fatalistic approach of, if there's an omnipotent God, then there's a plan, and God knows what I'm going to do at any given instance. So, do I have a choice? Sure, but do I have options? No, because I just have to do what's I'm supposed to do. Um, the negative side of that is, well, are you just going to give up on life? And it's like, well, no, that's just not who I am. The positive side on that is you can look back on anything you've ever done and give yourself forgiveness, grace. Um, you don't have, you can get rid of pride, anger, hatred, because you're like, what happened just happened, whether it's from a, you know, physics standpoint of just like, that was the state that my body was in, or a religious standpoint of, well, God knew what was going to happen. I don't know if you've ever thought about that, but I'd love to hear your opinions on, well, this, I had to be a drug addict during that time because that was God's plan, versus, well, then I chose not to. But choosing not to, is that also God's plan not to?
Um, First off, I'm more relationship than religion.
Okay.
Um, if a person can have a relationship with God by, um, how do we know God? We read his word. John 1:1 tells us the word is him, right? In the beginning was the word, and the word was God, and the word, the whole thing. It shows us right there that if we can just read his word, that's his spirit revealing it to us. That's how we know him. So I believe we have the power to choose because he gave us that, right? We're the only creature on earth to be able to do that. Um, and like I said earlier, God ordained or God allowed. I don't believe that God ordained me to be a drug addict, but I do believe he allowed that. Just like he allowed Job to be tested by the devil. He said, here's my servant Job, right? Job went through all kinds of hell, but
Yeah.
in the end, it was worth it, right? Um, that so correlates and ties into our purpose. Um, Everybody's purpose on earth is the same to me, and that's to advance the kingdom of God. Um, but we all have different paths that we take. So, what is your path? That's what you choose, right? So, God is going to open those, whatever you chose, you know, build cookie franchises. God is going to give you all of the opportunity to advance his kingdom through your core values, through your business, through your relationship with him by building cookie franchises. Me, it's bringing consumer products to market,
Hmm.
right? I want to help people manufacture and bring more consumer products to market. The way I get to do that, or the way I get to bring kingdom into that, is through consumer products. So we got to choose our own path. We were made different, right? You you may not have. Well, you did tell me you're addicted to food, so you may have really liked cookies. I don't know the backstory there, but um, regardless of the fact, you're in that line of business. I'm in this one, and it's given us our paths that we've chosen, or given us the opportunity to tell more people about Jesus and what he's done for us, and where we're striving, and what kind of legacy are we trying to leave, and how are we trying to make the world a better place. So to me, it's not really, everything in your life is ordained and set, you just some robot living through life. It's more of, we have the power to choose. We get to choose our actions. We get to choose what thoughts we allow to stay in our mind, which ones we want to kick out. All of that matters. And in doing that, it says that he will be the lamp unto our feet, meaning we can just see the next step, and we just keep going and walking out that path.
I'll to not spend a ton of time on it because we're running out of time, but I go meditate whenever you have time and pay attention to your thoughts and ask yourself if you can actually control your thoughts. Do you know what you're going to think before thought arises? And it's a silly question because the answer is obviously no, I don't know till it comes.
Yeah.
Anyways, the more, and I'm getting into more of like Buddhist, like Eastern, uh, kind of oneness, wholeness philosophies. But with that, I've done a lot of the meditations, and I came to a realization that I can't control my thoughts. Dwelling on a thought is just that same thought repeating itself, and not dwelling on a thought is another thought replacing
Yeah.
it. Anyways, again, we
I
don't have to
mean,
jump into it,
no, we
but
can't.
it is a fun activity that, for me, with 10 minutes of meditating, if you have mushrooms or psychedelic, it enhances it. But it really allows you to really separate your consciousness from you as an avatar or as a person. Like, I am not my thoughts. If somebody thinks to punch somebody in the face, like, why did that thought arise? Nobody really knows, other than you could trace it back to genetics and environment, neither of which they have control. Different philosophy,
Yeah.
there's good and bad to it all, but just providing a different perspective, because we are, well, I don't know how long we paused there for a little bit, but I do want to jump into what you're doing right now and the swag that you have. Turf.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tougher.
Tell me a little bit about turf and how that also relates. I mean, you started getting into it, but how are you using turf to fulfill your purpose?
So Tougher is a facial
Oh,
recognition
tough.
security device. No, you're good. It's all run together. So Tougher is a facial recognition security device that goes on power sports. We're going to go to the automotive market. Um, but it's to protect, control authorization of a vehicle. Um, it is to protect against theft, unauthorized access, child safety. Um, and the reason I built this was because I used to steal power sports and equipment to feed my drug habit. And so when I had the idea, I was like, I can protect society from who I used to be. And so that's been the driving force behind the product I'm building. And this is just one. Um, so that's what Tougher is. That's the consumer product that, is my number one focus. And outside of that, I have Addict to Entrepreneur. Um, and I'm targeting people who have completed the 12 steps and are now, they went from addict to sober, but they're looking at life, like I was 3 weeks after I got clean. What do I do now? What's
Yeah.
next? And so I'm building that out and pushing that out now to help people realize what's next in their lives.
And
It does have a
is
biblical base to it, but it is focused on personal development, the foundation of who you are, entrepreneurship at a 30,000 foot level. It's not strategy, but it's to get your mind geared that way.
is it like one-on-one coaching, group coaching, a mastermind?
So right now I have a digital course. It's a 12-week course. There's 5 modules, my personal take, some how-tos, some worksheets to go through. The first 3 modules are identity, values, core values, and mission vision. So I really want to focus in on that because, like I said earlier, if I'd have known that then, where would I be today?
Yeah.
But if I can grill that in and teach that to people now, get clean, and then build the foundation of who you are as a person, then everything else will be easier.
Well, I love that. I mean, you can hear the passion in your voice, and now asking you what you're working on and why you're working on them, they both have such a deep purpose of like, that was me, and now I could protect society from who I was when I was ill. So
Yeah,
that's awesome. I mean, and then also guiding other people that just came out of that. And I think that's so needed to have success at whatever level you want to have it at, because it's so easy to get overwhelmed and just to throw in the towel and like, it's not worth it. Because a lot of times it's not worth it unless you have a deep rooted purpose. And I love that you had the purpose and created the business. I had already purchased this business, so I had to kind of go back, and I was able to, and changing the product and the messaging and the mental, and it all did come together. I was lucky for that, but I didn't go into this business or my last business with that. It was just, I want more money, and what I
yeah,
didn't realize is, why do I want money? what is money going to buy me? And what is that thing that I'm going to buy going to make me feel? And then how do I just focus on that emotion? I just wanted money. And I was like, oh, it's okay to be driven by money. And it is, but you need to know what the money's going to give you and what emotion that is going to give you. And then just try to shoot for the emotion. And if money comes, money comes. So
Yeah.
I love that that's so deep rooted into both of your business. What is the, where would listeners find about the Addict to Entrepreneurs?
Addict, the number 2, entrepreneur.com.
Okay, awesome. And we'll throw that in the show notes as well. Last question for you, Jeremy. What is the legacy that you want to leave behind? How do you want to be remembered?
So if you've never done this, I highly suggest it, is to write your own eulogy.
Hmm. That was one of
Um,
the
uh,
activities in Thomas Keenan's book, and it was
oh,
really
I,
good.
I haven't read it. I haven't read his books. I need to go read it. But I participated in that and wrote my own eulogy, and I wrote it from my wife's perspective. And this was uh, 3 years ago, so it was right at the beginning of me really pushing hard again.
Uh-huh.
Um, so a lot has changed since then, but my legacy is a trust and family bank at the top that operates everything underneath. But the two main pillars of that are an incubator for business to bring in a diverse group of people to show them entrepreneurship, mainly focused in consumer goods, how to bring that product to market from prototype ideation to prototyping to manufacturing, packaging, retail, B2B, B2C, all the way around, and have the opportunity to bring that inward and invest in people and their companies. That is one main pillar. The other pillar is the speaking and coaching and telling my story. I believe, going back to it again, that God allowed story is so powerful because it can connect with people where they are. It doesn't have to be meth and heroin for them, but it can be pornography, it can be alcohol, it can be food, it can be gambling, it can be any number of things. It connects so well because that was at rock bottom. And a lot of people, especially in today's world and economy, people are at rock bottom. They don't know what to do next, right? And so all of that, having that family bank and trust, for my family legacy, and the two main pillars of that being an incubator, because I believe to help with our economic crisis, it's entrepreneurs like me and you.
Mhm.
We're going to rebuild America. We're going to be the ones that have America on our back and increase that. And then two, bringing people out of that rock bottom to a new identity, a new foundation, to where they can move into that incubator and then continue their own family legacy and greatness within themselves. All of that has to do with a biblical worldview. For me personally, that's what it is. Everybody has different views, but for me, it's the reason why I'm doing this. I get to tell what Jesus did for me, what God did in my life, and where I'm going.
I love that. It's so clear that you've taken the time to find your direction because you have it defined. And it's not, I think this would be good. It's like, this is what I want. These are the pillars. These are the core values. And I'm going to take you up, even though I have done that. It's been a good year and a half, almost 2 years since I write in the obituary. And it was so meaningful. And I know, I've changed a ton. My life has changed a ton. So I do want to do that again. So I appreciate that challenge. Anybody who hasn't done that, it really is life changing. Like, for me, I had my core values and what people told me my core values were because I asked a bunch of people. And the number one was hardworking. And then when I wrote my obituary, I didn't care if people thought that I was a hard worker because it's like, well, it's not about how hard you work so much. It's more who you were and what you accomplished. Uh, so doing several activities, anyways, for me, it was very helpful. So Jeremy, I appreciate your time. I'm glad we can make this work with a little bit of technical difficulties, but hopefully listeners don't know because it's all edited. Um, where can listeners connect with you?
I have a connect with me website on my Facebook profile. It's jeremysdeets.com.
Okay.
My personal email, my personal phone number's on there. So I want to help people. So I'm giving that direct access.
Okay. Jeremy, I appreciate it. Thanks for
Yes,
being
sir.
on.
Have a
All right.
great one, man.